So in today's web dev tip, I'm going to show you how you can do a bit of additional research on the technologies that a company might use should you be going for an interview at that particular company. So let's say, for example, that this website here has offered you an interview and you're going along, and maybe it's an interview for an Angular developer job, and you want to just check that they're not using any other technologies that might be worth talking about and mentioning that you've got the skills for when you go to interview. So one of the first things that you can do is just inspect the code on the website and just see what sort of other technologies might be in use. So if we just open up our developer tools for this particular site, and if we just first of all take a look at the HTML markup, it should give us some clues as to what type of content or what technologies might be used. So although we're going for an Angular job, you might notice down here that the URLs here are pointing to WP content folders, which is essentially a WordPress installation. So we could probably say that this website is actually, at least this homepage, is a WordPress installation. So that's another technology that the company is using, and if you've got any skills in that, it might be worth mentioning it to the interviewer, because they might need additional work done on that WordPress site as well. So that's one clue in our actual content here. And another thing to check is have a look on the console as well. So in this particular example, it's completely empty, but you might see indications as to any other technologies that might be being used on the site. For example, jQuery usually pops up a little notification to let you know it's been installed there, at least the migrate version. So you might see something in the console. The other thing you can do as well is check out the sources tab as well, and that might give you a bit of a clue as to anything else that might be installed on the site as well. And again, we can see those WordPress folders being installed here as well, but you can actually see some of the other additional scripts that are being loaded in as well. So for example, we've got a service called Hotjar, which does user tracking on the site, and also Google Analytics, and we've got the Google Tag Manager there too. So you can see some of the other types of tools and services that the company is also using. And of course, we can see jQuery being loaded there as well from the jQuery CDN. So there's no Angular code on this particular page, but if we dig into one of the other pages on the e-commerce site that we've got here, you'll see we get some additional code loading up as well. So this is there's some JavaScript being loaded here, and we can see there's the service worker script being registered as well, so we can tell that we're using service workers on this particular page. And if you look into the JS code as well, you can see we've got the Angular code as well as some additional app code as well. And of course, we should see this being loaded via Webpack as well, because Angular will use Webpack as its build tool. So we're starting to build a big picture as to what tools are being used within the site. And of course, there is a SAS and SCSS folder. So we know that the source, at least, of this particular project is using SCSS or SAS to build its styles. So we've already gained quite a lot of information about the different technologies that are being used at this particular company, and that gives you a good grounding as to what you can talk about if you go for an interview, and also highlight the skills that you have that might be useful to the role that you're applying for. So hopefully that's given you some useful tips about researching the technology of a company. If you've got your own tip, feel free to drop it in a comment below. But that's it for this tutorial. Make sure you stay tuned for more web dev tips.